I came home from a 12-hour shift at the hospital, half running on fumes, half on stubbornness, thinking the worst of my day was over. That's always the joke, right? You'd think nothing could surprise a guy who just watched a grown man eat a sock in the ER waiting room, but then I pulled into my driveway and found 3 massive SUVs lined up like it was some kind of luxury valet. One had boxed me out of the garage, another was perched half on my lawn, and the last one blocked the ramp my mom uses for her wheelchair. For a second, I just sat there in the driver's seat, engine humming, brain stuck between outrage and pure disbelief, because you ever come home and genuinely wonder if maybe you're hallucinating? That was me. My driveway, which has never seen so much as a pizza delivery left crooked, now looked like the HOA had decided my property was the official overflow lot for their brunch crowd. And just to really cement the point, they'd taped a sign to my mailbox. Handwritten frilly letters, the whole deal, reading "Overflow parking for HOA spring brunch." Thank you, generous neighbor. I hadn't agreed to anything. Hell, I'd been out of town for 2 weeks and not a soul had called or even texted me. That's when I spotted her. Karen. Sun-hot clipboard glass of mimosa and that smug, I'm untouchable smile. She drifted across the cul-de-sac like she was starring in a commercial for HOA tyranny, chatting up neighbors who either didn't know better or had already given up fighting. All I could think was, if this is how it's going to go, I might as well make it a story worth telling. You know what I mean? I climbed out of my truck, locked eyes with Karen, and she just hit me with, "Oh, you're back early. We weren't expecting you till Monday. Don't worry, the cars will be gone by tonight." She said it like she was asking to borrow a cup of sugar, except the sugar was my entire driveway and my mom's ramp. "You don't mind, do you? It's just one little event." That's how she put it. I asked her point blank if she'd bothered to get permission. She gave me this sideways look and quoted some vague bylaws claiming the community courtesy clause meant my driveway wasn't really mine today. That's how it works with people like her. They wrap theft in a bow and call it a favor. But I wasn't about to start a screaming match in the street with half the board watching. Instead, I took pictures of every car, especially the one blocking the ramp, and went inside to check on Mom. She was calm, trying to play it off. "Don't worry, honey. They'll move soon," but I could see in her eyes she hadn't gotten her afternoon sun. I told her I'd handle it, but it wasn't about cars anymore. It was about how easily some folks take what isn't theirs and expect you to thank them for the privilege. Once the party was over, I filed a formal complaint through the HOA portal. Photos, timestamps, a copy of the survey that proved my driveway was private, and a statement about the accessibility violation. Professional, polite, and laced with enough legal language to make any reasonable person back down. But Karen wasn't reasonable. The next day, she replied with a letter of her own on HOA letterhead, no less. She regretted the minor inconvenience but said my property fell under communal courtesy use and suggested I attend the next board meeting if I had concerns. The audacity. Not only had she trespassed now, she was gaslighting me into thinking I was the problem. So I called her. I kept my voice level. No yelling, just straight talk, and asked why she hadn't given me so much as a heads up before redirecting half the neighborhood onto my lawn. She sighed and told me, "Honestly, you're never really involved in these things, so I figured you wouldn't mind. Like being quiet is the same as being a pushover." That was the tipping point. The next bombshell came that night. Someone, probably Karen, but she'd never admit it, spray-painted neon arrows on my driveway with event parking in huge letters right in front of my garage. Chalk paint, sure, but it looked official enough to pass for city work. That's when I realized the plan wasn't just to steal my space for a day. It was to normalize it, to claim it in the name of the HOA forever. I called the non-emergency police, but there wasn't much they could do unless cars blocked emergency access. Civil matter. So, if the law wouldn't help, I'd have to get creative. Over the next week, I talked to neighbors. Turns out I wasn't the only one fed up. Karen had made up new gate codes without telling people, issued sidewalk art permits out of thin air, and even charged a guy for a flower bed violation no one could find in the bylaws. But no one wanted to challenge her. She was too loud, too relentless, and always had some official-sounding reason. That's when I decided if she wanted exclusive access, I'd give it to her, just not in the way she expected. I called up Carlos, my high school buddy, who now runs the best construction crew in town. I asked, "You ever build a wall for payback?" He just laughed and said, "Buddy, you want pretty or permanent?" We settled on both a decorative permit-approved brick wall, waist-high, tasteful, loaded with solar lights and perfectly within code, just tall enough that no car could ever cross it again. I filed the landscaping permit online, called it a decorative erosion control feature, drew some flowers and solar lamps on the plan, and got my city buddy to fast-track the approval. By Friday night, bricks and mortar were quietly delivered out of sight. Carlos and his crew arrived at 3 a.m. hoodies, headlamps, not a word spoken. Every brick was set by sunrise, the whole thing curving elegantly along my driveway's edge. By the time the birds started singing, my property was fortress-level secure, but still beautiful enough to make it impossible for the HOA to complain. Saturday morning, Karen's brunch guests arrived and hit the wall literally. Horns honked, confusion reigned, and Karen stormed over in her robe phone, waving in the air. "You can't build a wall in a shared space. That's against the rules." I handed her a laminated copy of my permit. Not a wall, a decorative landscape feature. Fully permitted, fully legal. Watching her try to process it was worth every cent. She called an emergency board meeting right there on her lawn, rallied the troops, and dragged over Bill, the retired engineer on the board, to inspect my barrier. Bill looked it over, took out a level, smiled, and said, "Great craftsmanship. More people should do this." The rest of the neighbors laughed. Karen's face turned the color of a strawberry daiquiri. Not to be outdone, Karen posted a rant in the neighborhood app about my hostile structure, but the comments roasted her, reminding everyone about her bounce house last year that blocked the fire hydrant. Somebody even uploaded a selfie with the wall hashtagged #GreatWallOfKaren. From that day on, my wall wasn't just a boundary, it was a tourist attraction. But Karen wasn't done. Monday, I found a fake legal notice taped to my door, red marker, dramatic legalese threats of fines and lawsuits unless I remove the hostile barrier. I looked up the law firm, it didn't exist. I called my cousin, a real attorney, and he just howled, laughing. She'd forged the whole thing. That was Karen counting on people being too scared or tired to fight. But I fought back. I filed a complaint with the county's HOA oversight board, handed over her forged letter, and rounded up neighbors who had received similar official documents over the years. The county took it seriously. They sent an investigator who showed up unannounced to the next board meeting. Karen, in her power suit and slideshows, was suddenly the one on defense. When she admitted forging the legal threat, she was suspended on the spot, pending a full investigation. The boardroom erupted in applause. Years of her reign broken. You'd think that would be it, but with folks like her, the drama never really ends. She went full cloak and dagger after that, sneaking around at night, taping up flyers calling my wall a safety hazard, distributing them like hate mail. One neighbor with a ring cam caught her in the act and sent the footage straight to the oversight board. Instead of tearing me down, her last-ditch antics only rallied the neighborhood more. We organized a mural day, kids painted rainbows and peace signs all along my wall. It turned into a block party, lemonade stands, parents laughing, even the local cop dropped by to buy a cup and wink, saying, "Keep up the menace, Picasso." Still, Karen kept digging, calling in fake complaints, trying to drum up legal trouble. But every time we were a step ahead. The wall had full clearance from the fire department. And when she finally crossed the line, caught misusing HOA funds for her own backyard upgrades, the oversight board removed her permanently and filed a city complaint. She tried to play the victim, posted teary videos online, but by then no one was buying it. The top comment read, "Forging a lawyer isn't a personality." When her house went up for sale, the whole block held its breath. She left in the dead of night, last act of revenge, dumping manure near my yard. I posted the video, it went viral, the city fined her, and the only thing left behind was her reputation as a meme. The day after she moved out, the air felt lighter. The wall, once a symbol of spite, had turned into the community's mural, kids painting, neighbors chatting, folks stopping to rest on the bench we put in beside it. A couple weeks later, the new board met, packed house, standing room only. To my shock, I got nominated for vice president. Ellen, our new president, led the charge to rewrite the bylaws. No more gray areas, no more power hoarding, and anyone caught forging documents was banned for life. Rules got fixed, but more importantly, so did the community. The wall stayed now a monument to unity and, to standing up for yourself without turning ugly. The local news did a piece, "The Wall That Stood Its Ground." Folks from other towns messaged asking how to fight back against HOA overreach. I just told them start small, document everything, and remember, a stack of bricks can do what 1,000 angry emails can't. Tom, the guy who bought Karen's old house, showed up one day with a basket and a stack of fake violation letters he'd found in the attic. We had a good laugh. The board wiped all the bogus fines and brownies were shared at the next meeting. Now the wall gets decorated for every season. Flags, ribbons, even a mural of a bald eagle with suspiciously familiar features. I never set out to be a hero or a symbol. I just wanted my driveway back. But in the end, we got more a neighborhood that learned how to stand together. And if there's one thing I hope people remember, it's that sometimes the quietest guy on the block can make the loudest stand. Brick by brick, with a little patience and a lot of receipts. So tell me, where do you draw the line in your own neighborhood? What would you have done in my shoes? Drop your thoughts below, because in the end it's not about walls or lawns or even HOAs. It's about standing up together when it really matters.